anyway, you're making a good point, which is there's so...
This is Just Keep Breathing with your host, Richard Curtin on National Radio.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Just Keep Breathing. I'm your host, Richard Curtin, and my in-studio guest today, adult film star Lucas Knowles. How are you, Lucas?
Good. Former star.
So we have to refer to you now as former porn star? Former adult entertainment
Adult
worker?
star formerly known as Lucas Knowles.
Adult star formerly known as Lucas Knowles. So you're kind of like Prince, only different. So what are we going to call you? What are we going to call you now that you're not Lucas Knowles?
The adult artist formerly known as Lucas Knowles.
That is your current name, the adult film artist formerly known as Lucas Knowles. I think that's adorable. Can you be like? Can you acronym that? So you would be
ASFKALK.
That's awful. So why don't you just call yourself like Becky?
Let's stick with Chris.
No, I want to go with Becky. Can I call you Becky?
Can I call you Becky?
You can always call me Becky.
I bet.
You can call me just about anything you want, and I answer to it.
Yes, sir.
And that works too. Okay, so one of the things that you and I have been talking about is gay marriage as it applies to a gay man, and gay marriage how it applies to a former adult film star formerly known as Lucas Knowles. So, you were currently in a relationship.
That's right.
And do you plan on getting married?
This is very new. It's only 7 months almost. So it's not something I'm thinking about.
And so have you been thinking about it at all in your past? So let's recap for just a second. You are a
Former adult star.
No. You're a former adult film star, formerly known as Lucas Knowles. But you are, do we say you are a current resident of Poland? What do we say? You're a former resident of Poland?
Former adult star. Former resident of Poland. Current resident of the U.S.
And so what is Poland's stand on same-sex marriage?
We have I think the problem is calling it marriage. I think what they did in right now in this society, I think just to help the gays and not upset the conservative straights, the word marriage should not be used because it's associated with religious ceremony. People who get married, they don't think about going to a city hall and signing papers. It's more religious, and religiously marriage is between a man and a woman, so that's why it's controversial. And what they did in the UK or in some Scandinavian countries, that went really smoothly with no controversies. In fact, I know that in Sweden, my friend who's from Central Asia, he got all the rights of union by providing the city with 6 months of utility bills that proved that he lived with his partner, and that's what gave him a legal status. So imagine in America, somebody comes to you, let's say from Canada, not to look far, or from the Philippines, and they live with you for 6 months.
The Philippines.
And they live, just to look further, Canada close, Philippines further. and they give you utility bills after 6 months, and you're married, and the person gets a green card. That's how it works in Sweden. And there was no controversy. They never called it marriage. It's like a civil union. So I think
So
the problem of
separate but equal is working in Sweden, and it works in Europe.
it's all about how you introduce the idea to the society. And in Poland, it's very early. They are just there's no law that penalizes discrimination on the grounds of sexuality. They just introduced like on the grounds of being handicapped or race in the 90s. So sexuality is not included. That's what they want to. That's what they're pursuing. But right now, it's not included in the bill.
And Poland is extremely Catholic, isn't it?
It used to be more. It's just blending with the rest because now the borders are open. So.
But the majority of
core is,
Polacks, do we call them Polacks?
Yeah. You guys think that the word Polak is derogatory, where in fact it means a Pole, which means it's like calling you an American, and it's not really. I know it's a joke, but it's not offensive at all.
I'm a Polak. My grandmother is 100% Polish.
I know you guys always say that you're something, where in fact you're Americans, really.
I think that at some point we are all something else, especially Americans.
That was so deep, I got lost.
There's really, truly only one American, and that is a Native American. My grandmother is 100% Polish. My mother was 100% German. So the American people are really, we're a blend of.
But ultimately, to cut it, to simplify it, when you're born here and you're soaked with the American culture, you're American.
Yeah.
With some sort of roots.
And if you were born and raised in Texas, you're a Texan. Do you feel like you're a Texan yet?
Not yet.
Well, when people ask you what you are, what do you tell them?
Poland, and it's pretty unique here because there's not a lot Europeans and Polish people in the industry. So it's
The former industry.
well, in the industry of like adult entertainment that I'm still somehow affiliated with, although not totally naked anymore.
What does that mean?
I entertain people with clothes on,
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought maybe you were
with the 3 pieces of clothing on.
three pieces of clothing, as in a pair of shoes, socks, and underwear?
I don't count shoes. It's
You don't
socks.
count shoes.
Socks.
Okay, socks, underwear,
And a wristband.
and a wristband. How adorable.
Not really.
Okay, so Poland's gay marriage, separate but equal, and it's working in Europe.
Yeah. I mean, this is not it's not about making it equal with the straight people because we will never be. And
Why not?
Because we are not.
Didn't you think that Rosa Parks said that one time, that we will never be equal to white people?
It's just we're just different. We have different.
No, it's not.
Well, how beautifully we differ.
We are different. I'll agree. At the baseline, what separates us is that we're gay, or that they're straight, or but that doesn't really make us different. At the
Well, the
baseline,
difference is that
at the baseline, we still get up in the morning, we still pay our bills, we still pay taxes, we still get in our car and drive to work, we still go to the grocery store and make bad choices in food at fast food restaurants. We all drink our coffee, we just drink it a little bit differently. At the baseline, we still have nothing but blood in our veins, and some of us have hair, some of us don't. I don't believe separate but equal works. It says that you are different, and therefore you should have different ways of doing it.
But for
we
instance,
are
if you
all the same, and we should all be treated the same, and we should all get the same privileges that everybody gets.
but you're saying should, so it's idealism, and it's not really what's happening in practice. When you look
Absolutely.
at redhead people, they are just genetically blessed, and they have red hair, and they are a huge minority in the society, and they get picked on at schools, and just because they are redheads, and nobody, like ideally they should be, embraced and kind of like ignored in a good way, because they are just like, like other people are ignored for being normal. They are normal, just with red hair.
But I bet a redhead is not abnormal in Ireland. And so, so in Ireland is the person who has the oddest hair color, is that the person that should be separate but equal?
Well, it's not
Are you
about-
saying that all gays should be sent to an island so that we can all be treated the same in that island? Because in Ireland, the redhead is not treated differently. In fact, I bet the redhead is celebrated, because
Well,
a lot
culturally-
of redheads come from Ireland and Scotland.
It's all about the time and the location that we're talking about. So right now we're witnessing changes, but this is why it's also such an exciting topic, because it's happening right now. And culturally, it was the privilege of straight people. So we are trying to change it, but that does not give us, the right to suddenly now be to suddenly say that we know how to solve it, because it's just happening right now.
But I think we do have the tools to solve it. I think that if you go back in history, at any kind of civil rights type movement, you can see the stair-stepping doesn't work. You can see that separate but equal does not work. You can't give all gays their own water fountain, because eventually it's just not going to work. We know it's not going to work. Separate but equal does not work.
But what do you mean by separate by equal?
Separate but equal
'Cause in those
means
countries that I mentioned, it might not be what you refer to as separate by equal.
they're calling it something else. Why?
Well, it's working.
Why call an Oreo a black and white cookie when it's really just an Oreo?
Because culturally, marriage in people's minds as a religious ceremony was associated with opposite sexes. So that's that's the reason behind the difficulties that we're talking about.
Sure, I get what you're saying, but at some point you're also saying to take it slow, and at some point it also feels like, we've got to placate all of these people over there because they're not ready for me to be equal, and
Well, it's nice to
they're
be
not ready,
considerate
and it sounds to me like I have to play in their arena. So why do I have to play in their arena when it's really my arena too? And at some point, if I don't think it's better. I don't think that it's almost like civil union versus marriage. It is basically saying that a civil union is not as equal or not as good as marriage. And we can't really offend those people who are getting married the traditional way. We have to have it called something else. And with calling it something else, certain rights will be denied. We will give you everything. It's just like the sodomy law in Texas. We will allow you to be not persecuted. We will allow you for it not to be illegal for you to be in love with a man, but we're still going to leave the sodomy law on the records and make it illegal for you to put your penis up someone's bum in the state of Texas.
It's not the best example, obviously, right here.
What I'm saying is, I don't think it's a time for apathy. And I don't think it's a time for settling. I don't think it's even a time that we are allowed to, or that we should be, okay, we'll take the black and white cookie. But you can have the Oreo. Because at some point, that black and white cookie isn't going to be made the same way, and isn't going to be made with the same ingredients, and it's not going to have the same effect when you put it in milk.
But black and white cookie is the same as Oreo, and
No, it's not.
unless
If black
you're-
and white cookie is the same, then you would call it an Oreo.
Well, some people call an Oreo a black and white cookie. Some
But
people
when
call
I
it
am
Oreo.
handed my black and white cookie, I guarantee you my black and white cookie is not going to be made with the same ingredients. It's not going to look the same. It's not going to taste the same. And in the end, it's not going to have the same effect as an Oreo cookie. They're going to leave something out of it. And they're going to deny an ingredient that's important. We are really talking really in
We went too deep.
in crazy little crazy little metaphors, but I do you understand what I feel it's going to happen? Because I am confident. I am confident that there are people out there that really do want to deny our rights. And not only do they want to deny our rights, but I think that they are absolutely honest when they say that all gays should be exported to an island and exterminated. Because the CEO of the Council of Family Research has said that. He said that all gays are a detriment to society and should be exported to an island and exterminated.
Well, obviously he has a pressure to be in the media, so extreme views like that should not be taken under consideration.
Absolutely, they should.
But they should not.
They should. They should. We should hear it, and we should see it, and we should recognize that man, and we should keep him in our view
I
at
believe
all
that if somebody
times.
says that, you just ignore it, because ignorance is the most powerful way
Um,
to hurt somebody. If they wanna make it, you just ignore them.
I think you have to keep your eye on them. I think you have to keep
Yeah.
your eye on them, and you have to keep your finger on them. You know, I think people like Hitler were just so damn crazy. And at some point, it's the craziest ones that you really have to keep your eyes on, and you have to really watch. You can't let them go wander around, because the minute they do, they will. They
It's
will
just that
start
we live in
attacking
a
the people.
society of 7 billion, and you need to show consideration to other people. Even if you think that your rights are being denied, you can't really make changes like that in 2 or 3 years. You need to be prepared that it might take a lifetime or a century for gradual changes to arrive, so that it blends evenly in a society. Because if you're too pushy on it, the society might just deny it and delay it even further. So it's like, it's a big
Are you
pot.
ready to be delayed? So
I'm
tomorrow
very comfortable.
morning you wake up in the morning and you think, I want to marry him for the rest, and I want to be with him for the rest of my life.
It's not that
Are you ready
Really?
to be denied?
delayed, yeah.
You're ready to be delayed?
Yeah.
I'm not, and I don't have that option anymore. My husband died. So I don't have that option anymore. I am not in a relationship. However, the 22 years that we were together, we opted for delay. And now it's not an option. And so now it's just too fucking late. And so I'm not ready for delay. I don't want him, I don't want you, I don't want him, I don't want her, I don't want any of them anymore to have to be delayed because someone thinks that my putting my private parts up someone else's bum is offensive to them. And I am not ready to be delayed anymore. And I will not, and I refuse to be delayed. I refuse for you to be delayed. I want you to get up in the morning tomorrow and decide that you want to marry the man that you love, and I want you to be able to ask him, and I want you to be able to go down to the courthouse and do that, or a church in which you choose to do that in, and if you decide in 3 years that you don't love him anymore, I want you to have the right to get the divorce. And it shouldn't be any different than two people, period, getting married. One man, one woman, one woman, one man, one man, one woman, one woman, one woman. Should all just be the same. Take your God out of it and make it the law.
Well, you need
It
to
has
wait at
absolutely
least
nothing
a
to do
year.
with religion. If you want it to be about religion, then you and your partner can make it as religious as you want it. But it has to be law, and it has to be equal. What we do know is separate but equal does not work. What we do know about civil rights is you can't deny it is a civil right, and I no longer will be denied. I will no longer be delayed.
Well, we just need to wait for the Supreme Court to
Absolutely.
speak out.
But this really isn't the time for waiting for. We have to start demanding. We need more people like Major and Bo that are going down to the courthouse to apply for marriage licenses. We all need to go down, and we need to not be apathetic about what is going on. A lot of these people that have been exercising their freedom of speech by spewing hatred and spewing bigotry and have been allowed to do so, I'm all about it. Anybody can say any crazy thing that they'd like to say. However, this is not about God, and this is not about religion. This is about civil rights.
That's why I said that you have to ignore people in situations like that, like those members of this crazy church that their only premise seems to be to boycott anything that it's not even a gay, but other things that they don't agree with. You just that's the problem.
Are you
is
talking
that-
about the Westboro Baptist Church?
Well, that's why I said this church, not to mention their name.
Wow, the Westboro Baptist Church
That's how you
just
ignore.
their whole premise, I think, is that the world is coming to an end because of gay rights, because that
But you just
America is
ignore it,
allowing
because
is
if you-
allowing.
If you quote them in the papers and mention their name, it's just snowballing. You just ignore it. That's how you make long-term changes, not by demanding loud and, hitting the table with your fist. Step by step.
Step by step. So, where do you think we are in the step? Do you think that there's been enough pounding your hands on the table?
Worldwide or right here in this country?
All over. Period.
All over the world?
We'll just talk about America
Considering
for the time being, because there are countries that have same-sex marriages. I think there are like 25. That may be a high number, but there are 6 states that allow same-sex marriages. But if I live in Texas, why should I go to Iowa to get married when I still come back to Texas
Well, you're
a
impatient.
single man?
You're impatient. I think you
I
should-
am not patient.
You're
Impatient.
impatient.
I am not impatient. 20 years ago, in 1992, when Jack and I started talking about partnering, about becoming married, we discussed whether or not one of us would change our name in some sort of political statement against, two men getting married. And so legally, I was going to change my name. And when you look at the cost of that, so I have to change my name. I have to legally do that. When if I went just downtown and got a marriage license for $70, my name gets changed automatically for $70. But as a man changing my name to take the man's name of another man, it would have ended up costing me like $2,000 to $3,000.
That was a consequence of the law in 1992.
But my question is, that was 20 years ago that I was talking, that we were talking about making a political statement about anti-gay marriage laws. 20 years ago. So at some point, I get that you're thinking that I'm impatient, but that was 20 years ago.
But it is happening. Things like that happen over decades. I
They
believe
certainly
so.
do. So are we in our third decade?
We are on the right path. 6 states are pro, and they will not withdraw it. So it's a one-way street.
But they can.
They can.
They can.
They won't. It's a
But they could.
Yeah.
Because you've got the majority of people voting on minority rights.
It's a social issue that is moving one way, slowly but surely. So I think the
It used to be 7, and it's now just 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm debunking you a little.
Well, I think it's a good progress, slow but good.
So you're saying you're more patient than I am, and that I need to be more. I need to be
Well,
more
because
patient.
we live in a society in a big pot of different cultures and opinions and colors and
And
preferences.
so I think should we make sure that all Hispanic people should we have separate water fountains for them?
Well, that was already addressed in the 60s and 70s.
That was just for black people.
I know, but that's the
What
same
about the
rule.
Hispanics? No, it's different now. We've got Hispanics, and we've got Indians, and we've got Asians. So maybe we should just start putting water fountains out and color coding people. We kind of already do. What color would oh, I guess it would be pink. The gays are already color coded. So my point is, when is it that we need to be less patient?
The one for Mexicans will be with Tabasco in it.
Oh, I like Tabasco. I don't like it on my eggs, though. Do you like Hispanic men?
Yeah.
I think they're gorgeous. But I was telling a friend yesterday, there is not a man out there that I can't find some beauty in. I mean, just I just can't.
You're a perfect gay activist then.
I don't know if I would call myself a perfect gay activist. I wish that I wish I had more time to to shake my fist more, because I am impatient. I have grown very impatient, and I've grown very angry, and I've been very bittered by some of the things that have not only happened to me, but happened to people that are very close to me. And when I see politicians and when I hear politicians and CEOs rant their hateful rhetoric, I am empowered to shake my fist. I'm empowered to pound it on the table, because I'm tired of it.
Well, I
I'm
understand your
46
perspective.
years old, and I'm going to be 47 in January, and at some point, over half of my life, I've been pointed at. And I've been told that I've been less than. I've been told that I'm not worthy of, and that I am going to hell, and that I don't approve of your lifestyle, and I don't do this, and you're not going to make it here, and you're not going to do this. And really, I am really sick of it. The judgments, all in the based on one simple fact of religion. And I am not less than. I am worthy. I am not going to wherever the hell it is that you're going, because, when people say, oh, I just worry about you going to heaven, well, who the hell's going to be at my heaven? I certainly don't want to be greeted by Sarah Palin and Rush Limbaugh. What kind of horrible party is that going to be? If the afterlife is something that we should look forward to, we should look forward to the people that that we have built our relationships with, that we want to see.
Snooki,
is she going to heaven?
Kim,
Who's Kim?
Kim K.
Really?
Big worldly figures to look upon.
Yes, big worldly figures to look upon. And there's another problem. I mean, why are these people so important to our society?
That's for another segment, and you would have to extend it to 3 hours. But I just wanted to say that although I'm from Poland, that has this label that is very Catholic and homogenic, which has nothing to do with being homo.
Thank you.
I've never been bullied, and I've never heard a single insult related to my sexuality, which I've never been out. I mean, I wasn't out when I was in my teens, like proclaiming and fighting, but I was gay, and I've never. That's why I'm so relaxed and so easygoing about all those.
I'm pretty relaxed and easygoing.
The the fight for the rights, you know. I've never been hurt.
I have not been hurt either, physically. I mean, you know, I really, I don't have a lot of horror stories that a lot of other people do. One, because I've got a big mouth, and I'm not afraid to use it. But
why don't we hear about
yes.
the groups of redheads or the groups of people with the parting between their upper teeth gathering together? That one will be led by Madonna.
And Lauren Hutton. And Asia O'Hara. And me.
Why don't we hear about them, like gathering and trying to get rights for themselves?
You mean rights for people that have gaps between their teeth?
Yeah, or
because
redhead.
I mean, why the redhead? Why the gaps between their teeth?
They are all examples of minority, and they don't have issues with that. Although they get picked on and bullied, and they go through some situations, you know, in their teens especially. It's not a long-term problem, but we don't really talk about that. Suddenly, sexuality becomes a big debate.
Don't you think that sexuality is more important than having a gap between your teeth?
It's about being bullied. Like you're bullied for 10 years, between 10 and 20.
No, I think we're being bullied right now. I'm 47 years old, or 46 years old, and I'm being bullied by the government. I think I'm being bullied by Dan Cathy of Chick-fil-A. I think I'm being bullied by Sarah Palin. I think that I'm being bullied a little bit by Mitt Romney. I know I'm being bullied by Paul Ryan. I know that I am being bullied. I am being bullied by that crazy governor in Arizona, Jan. And I'm not even Hispanic, and I feel bullied by her.
But you just said that you value the freedom of speech, and people are allowed to say the craziest
Absolutely,
things ever.
they are. And we are always going to have that problem. Or
Option.
fantastic freedom. Freedom of speech. But you know, we don't have freedom of hate speech. We do not. We do not have freedom of hate speech. If we had anyone, just say Dan Cathy. Do you know who Dan Cathy is? He's the CEO of Chick-fil-A who released all those statements. Okay, so replace the word gay with black. Replace the word
But do you
gay.
know what he said originally?
Yes, I do.
Did you
He
read
said
your statement?
that I did. In fact, I saw the print of it. Everything. Yes, he said that.
The marriage should be, in his opinion, between a man and a woman. And then it snowballed out of control. Media said that he was against gay marriage.
He is against gay marriage, and the money that he has put into organizations not only for pro-marriage, as in between a man and a woman, but they are anti-gay rights and they are anti-women's rights organizations. So it's not about his statements, really, because he can say anything that he wants, and he can do anything that he wants. It's really about the money that he's putting into hate organizations, or organizations that are out there and designed to stop equal rights for people that are not like them. It's not about what he says. It's about where his money is going. However, hate speech is certainly not a freedom of speech.
But can I get an example of a hate speech from one
Sure.
of those people?
Absolutely. If
Apart from being sent to the remote islands.
hate speech, the pastor who recently in his sermon said, I know how to deal with all those homosexuals. We're going to put them behind a fence, and we're going to drop in some food. And we're going to fly away.
Well, why are we talking
And
about
eventually
it?
all of
Sure.
those gays will be dead.
But
That's
it was
hate speech.
Some random person, one of 300 million, who said that, and suddenly media talk about it. People say crazy things that, if you quote it, it becomes a fact. If you
Sure.
ignore it, it disappears. I thought one of those people you
I
mentioned,
hear what you're
fake
saying.
people, said something offensive, and
You're not offended by it?
he's allowed to say that. That I understand immediately that he's uneducated. What's the backstory behind him saying that? Maybe he's determined to be on quoted, to be on radio stations. Maybe he wants to be your guest. Maybe he just wants to. He never made it, and he's unhappy being a pastor. He wants to be a celebrity, and if he says something like that, you just ignore it. People have really big problems ignoring things that are trash. If you quote it, it starts. In this day and age, it just snowballs out of control, and some media live off of it. So I think you just ignore it, and he's not a figure to
So
be quoted.
are we to ignore that if Mitt Romney
Well,
is
that's a
going to get
different scale.
elected,
That's a little different.
that he will reinstate Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which I don't think he's going to do anymore. But he has
That's
said
what I
it.
said, that it's going one way.
I don't believe
So when
that's
you-
hate speech, but I don't believe that we have to or we should ignore
But that's a
that
different
man.
magnitude, of
That
course.
man is preaching to hundreds of people.
But you know that in America, it's about when you have two candidates for presidency, it's about polarizing. One needs to be opposed to what the other says, and you can see how they are running campaigns this time. That it's not really about saying what you're going to do for the country and what visions you have. It's what the other did wrong, and that's kind of sad in a way, but that's how they roll.
How they roll.
So yeah,
There
for
they
real.
roll.
For real, bro. I think you just have to differentiate the magnitude between the pastor somewhere who you'll ignore and the candidate for presidency who you just may disagree with.
I just don't think there's any time left for ignorance, and I don't think there's any
That's the
time
most
to
powerful weapon.
ignore. I
When you
just don't think
ignore-
that we can ignore anymore.
When you ignore, it just dies.
I'm tired of
On its
being
own.
ignored.
So you notice ignorance is working.
As a community, I believe that we've been pushed back, and we keep getting pushed back, and we keep getting pushed back. I'm going to go to the raid on the Late Rainbow Lounge. That was something that happened with the TABC a couple of years ago, and there's a documentary that just came out about it. And it really wasn't until they became unrested. It wasn't until they became vocal. It wasn't until they said, "We demand you hear our story now," because it was being pushed and being pushed and being pushed and being pushed, and it wasn't till someone chose to be removed because of his mouth. He decided, I am not going to be ignored anymore. And what ended up happening? They pushed that whole thing to the front. And so I understand what you're saying. However, I think we are at the point where we as a community have to stand up and say we are not going to be ignored anymore. We are not going to allow the inequality to continue. We are not going to be allowed to be considered second-class citizens. We no longer have to knock on a door in an alleyway to get into a gay bar to be with other gay people. We can walk through the front door and we can put signs out on our
Well, you agree
on
it's
our
on the right
buildings.
path, right? It's following the legal path, and there's nothing we can do. You just have to wait, and when there is an announcement, you either stand up or just just let the law.
I think that
do
if
its
you
thing.
allow the process to happen, the process is going to be to push it off, because people are uncomfortable about talking about what I want to do with my penis.
But then if you start talking about what you want to do with your penis, it might be considered that you're trying to, like, affect maybe the decision of lawmakers or judges. So it's like a fine line, maybe? No? No?
I don't understand what you're asking.
Well, like, if it's happening right now.
No, people are just uncomfortable with the word sex, period. Even if I was a woman and we were standing here and we were
You're
going to
trying
start
to
talking about
change.
sex, someone is going to get uncomfortable about it.
Of course.
Even
I
if
agree.
we were opposite sex.
I agree.
And so the whole problem is that people don't want
Well,
gay
that's-
people to be equal.
That's education. That's another subject. If somebody is afraid of word penis, which is the same body part as they say as an elbow or a knee, then it's all about education, and you can't really. I can
That's my
assure you
point.
that even if you live 160 years, you will fail.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always going to be the way, and at some point I get it. However, equality now is what I want. And I do. I want it now. I'm tired of waiting.
In brackets.
I'm tired of
with
being.
patience.
I'm tired of being impatient. I'm tired of being patient. I'm tired. I am tired of being pushed back. I am tired of saying of having to be politically. No, I'm tired of religion having a part in what should be law, because there's a separation of church and state. And so what does religion have to do with...
Well, it's leftovers of how the religion, what role did it played in the past. It's you can't really change a generation just like that. This generation is still alive, so that's why the patience comes in handy. It's like I understand you're frustrated, but that's how it works. You can't just want something and change it. I agree with you. I just have more easygoing. I know you're easygoing, but more.
I am easygoing. I'm easygoing and I'm nice. God damn it! There. You know what's really surprising to me as well is in how many countries do you think you could move to and become a national citizen by marrying someone else?
Well, we just talked about it. 20-something, right?
Did we find that out? 11. 11 countries have same-sex unions. So, do you want to live here the rest of your life?
This is not a factor that affects the decision where I'm going to live, in my case. But at the moment, I'm happy here.
The only... I don't want to talk about your nationalization. Let's not do that. But the only way that you can really get a green card in the United States
Yeah, I know.
is to marry a woman.
Well, no, that's the fastest and the most reliable, but there are other ways.
Sure.
Work-related, talent-related, skills-related. There's about 100-something.
But why should
options.
you be denied, or just say anyone from a foreign country who is in love with an American? Let's just say, Lady Gaga falls in love with Kylie Minogue from Australia.
Quite pretty random, but carry on.
No, I'm just saying two women from two different countries.
I gotcha.
Well,
Well,
you
it
know,
has to do with what you said
Eventually,
earlier.
we're going to have to send one of them back, especially if they want to stay here. Kylie, good night. See ya. We don't want. You can't stay here anymore.
Right now,
And they
but
cannot get married.
that's not really true. That right now, when the DOMA was stopped being enforced, you can apply for citizen legal status. The application is being put on hold, and you're not given the status, nor are you deported. So you're in limbo, but you're here. That's what currently all the states are doing. That is what is my understanding of current events that are changing.
For same-sex partners.
Yes, there were two cases in.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's correct.
Deportations are not happening according to what is out there.
I don't think that's correct. I'll check into it. I think it's wrong, though.
That's the whole point of not enforcing DOMA. That you just wait for this, for the effects of Prop 8 going back and forth, now going to Supreme Court. My understanding is that the immigration courts are not deporting people who are foreign. They just put them here pending decision of Supreme Court
In the state of California,
in all the country. Because it's the DOMA was federal, right?
yes.
And it is, that's what I mean, it's what you read in the news. That's what I read, and it's not being widely reported. It's not an ideal situation, it's a limbo, but I don't think people are deported fiercely or
I think that if your visa runs out, your visa runs out, and you are asked to leave.
once you come out to
And
the
I-
immigration that you're here and you're applying for some sort of partnership, or you're with the person who's American, they put it on hold. There's no enforcement of deportations.
I hope you're right. And there's a step forward.
Yeah, little step.
We're are married in the state of California and or another state. Okay. Okay. Couples that are married.
Well, there is a spouse visa. You don't have to be married to be a. There's a fiance visa, right? So a person can come here on the grounds that they are intending to marry, and that's another way of proving that you're serious about the relationship. You're a fiance, and you
So,
apply on grounds like that too.
And so
I
a
don't think you have
woman
to be married.
in Russia can get a fiance visa, probably issued to her immediately, but a boy probably could not.
Probably not in Russia.
If it was for the same man.
I don't know about that, but I know that deportations are not happening at all or in the magnitude that they were before DOMA was appealed. Because I think I read about a couple that was dating long term but not married, and they were ladies, and they
okay.
came out. They came out like in your face. We're gonna test the system. They filed, and their local immigration office put them on hold, which ultimately just grants you right to stay.
And there's my point. If everybody just sat around and waited, nothing would happen. But we've got people like Major and Bo that are going down. We've got people like these two women that are going down and applying for this. It isn't time. This isn't a time to be patient. This is not a time to be apathetic. It is a time to grab yourself by the bootstraps and go out there and shake your fist at the system. And so if you look around, that's really what is happening, and that's what is making the forward steps, are people saying, I am not going to tolerate this injustice any longer. I am not going to be less than. I am going to be equal. And so, and so that's kind of my point. If you do sit around and wait with patience, it's never going to happen. You've got to go out there. You've got to make a stand. You have to go and shake your fist at the system, like these two ladies did. I'm not sure the details, but they filed something and they put them on hold. So there's one case. And so then if you've got all of these other cases that happen everywhere else,
I think it's
it's
a common
not sitting
practice.
around being patient.
I'm pretty sure it's a common practice. Just it's not really out there. It's pretty new, and I heard about it in May. So if it was new in May, it's just new right now. So it's happening slowly, but there's an option. There's an option for us to be called an Oreo.
Not just a black and white cookie. Well,
Or a cookie that cookie formerly known as an Oreo.
yeah. Formerly known as from what industry? So, what's new? What's going on? Why no longer? Why are you no longer going to be an adult film industry star?
I think it's a period in life, and the relationship is a factor, and the fact that gravity plays a role as well. So you just move on. It's been
Gravity.
Yeah. It's been 7 years. Exactly.
Gravity. Okay.
So,
So, your relationship was not happy with this?
I think it's not really. It's something that if it can be avoided in a relationship, in my relationship, that it probably should be. We never really talked about it like in detail, but I think it's not something that I mean I still have options to do it, and it would be a matter of getting booked, but I'm not pursuing it right now. So it's like it's in suspension, possibly indefinite.
Was it a hard decision to make?
No.
No.
I was never like the tweeting, Facebooking, socializing performer. I did 90 movies or plus, give or take, let's say 8, and it's
8. I did 90 movies, give or take 8.
I did something between 82 and 98 movies. And
What was your
I was-
favorite one?
in terms of what?
Just do you have one that you look back on and think that was my greatest? That was my greatest movie, or that was
Any
the
of
best
those
one
that-
I've ever done.
Any movies where a guy brushes his teeth and has a clean ass. It's pretty much that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line of the bottom.
So I mean, seriously, I've performed all my life as well, not in that same industry, but
I just discovered it, by the way, recently. I was in awe. You're just so mysterious. I saw you on the
I'm
screen at
mysterious.
undisclosed venue in central Dallas, and there you were.
There I was. So what my point is in
Very high budget video, by the way.
yes, it was. In 1998, I was involved in an all-male cast of Steel Magnolias, and I believe that it's my finest moment on stage. And not only was everything fell into place. I think the cast was right. We all really had a mutual respect and love for each other, and the performances were always stellar, and all of us really came to the table with our best for that production of Steel Magnolias. That's what I'm asking. Do you have a moment when you know or you saw that all the elements were there and that you put out one hell of a piece of art?
Probably, but it's not so outstanding as what you were talking about. Because when I started doing it, porn was already in decline in terms of sales of DVDs. By the way, people don't, like younger people probably don't know what DVDs are anymore. So that shows you how porn went through huge decline. I remember like
DVDs or VHS?
both. DVDs. I think there was like a January in 2009 when one studio director told me that they were selling 300 DVDs a month, and that month came to an end, and they sold 5, and they were like, just they were checking their system if there was like a bug that prevents people from buying, but they were not. So when I was
It was
doing,
probably the month that XTube came out.
that was the factor.
You know, because porn is really virtually free.
Yep. Before I started doing it, it was all about like building a fantasy with the. It was pre-internet, so you had to access it on a VHS. But no longer. So it was a fun episode. It was pretty much an average once a month for 7 years, but it's probably over.
Well, all right. Lucas Knowles, formerly known as Lucas Knowles. You've been listening to Just Keep Breathing right here at RationalBroadcasting.com. We'd like to thank you for joining us with our in-studio guest today, the
Oreo.
adult film star, formerly known as Lucas Knowles, currently known as the Oreo. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great afternoon.